Hello and welcome. This is Frank Donaldson. It is a great pleasure to be able to present this NCEA convention presentation, The Role of the President, Principal, and Pastor in Catholic School Development, 25 Suggestions. Let us begin, as we always do here at the Institute for School and Parish Development, with an opening prayer. This is one that we have enjoyed using over the past months, and one that I think really resonates with everyone with where we are today. So let us remember that we are in the holy presence of God. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, when this pandemic is over, may we never again take for granted a handshake with a stranger, conversations with neighbors, a crowded theater, Friday night out, the taste of communion, a routine checkup, a school rush each morning, coffee with a friend, the stadium roaring, each deep breath, a boring Tuesday, or life itself. When this ends, may we find that we have become more like the people we wanted to be, we were called to be, we hoped to be. And may we stay that way, better for each other because of the worst. Amen. Once again, welcome. It's a pleasure to be with you and share ideas about the role of the president, principal, pastor in Catholic school development / advancement. I'd like to share with you mainly 4 areas, with number 3 being the one we'll spend the most time on. A brief background about myself and what we are presenting and why, and what's the foundation from which it is being presented. I'd like to talk in Roman numeral 2 about 5 basic truths as we see them in regards to this topic, and then jump into 25 suggestions that we have found in 31 plus years of consulting and coaching with exclusively Catholic institutions, what we have found to be successful. And then share with you, there are actually 4 documents, resources that would like to serve as resources and handouts, which hopefully you will be able to receive. If you don't, there is contact information for you to request it. The Institute for School and Parish Development, we're beginning our 32nd year in June of 2021, working exclusively, as I said, with Catholic schools, parishes, dioceses, archdioceses. I mention this because all of this provides the framework and the foundation for the presentation today. We have had the wonderful opportunity through these 31 plus years of working with some of the finest leaders, meaning especially for this presentation, presidents, principals, and pastors. Men and women that are just head and shoulders above and have carried our Catholic schools not only in the past, but in the present during this pandemic, and are leading them into the future with proactive thinking. It is from these experiences, it is from teaching with our partnership with the University of Dayton, it is with so many hundreds of schools and parishes and dioceses we've worked with that we offer some basic truths and some suggestions. A lot of this, as some of you may know, comes from publications that we have written and are writing for NCEA. 2 of those publications that are available from NCEA are the 25 lessons learned, we call it the textbook on the left, and the 25 lessons learned workbook on the right. And this is all available through NCEA publications. The new book that was released over a year ago, 15 more lessons learned, also available from NCEA. And we're writing a new book. We're happy to announce. Hopefully, it'll be out in late spring, early summer. And this is a book that deals with successful Catholic school development / advancement in a virtual world. Very interesting topic where we're going to combine what we do virtually with what we do in person and the hybrid thereof. So it, once again, will be an NCA publication. There's 5 basic truths that we have found through the years that can set the stage for this presentation. Number 1 is that people meaning faculty, staff, boards and councils, parents, prospective families, alumni, past parents, students, people look to the president, principal, and/or pastor for leadership, guidance, and direction. Now, throughout, I'm going to refer to president, principal, and/or pastor because that's going to vary depending upon your governance situation. You indeed may be in a situation as a parochial school where principal and pastor is applicable. You may be in a secondary school where the president and principal model is applicable. So keep in mind, this is not one size fits everyone. This is applicable in terms of those 3 really important leadership positions. But we do know that those publics that I just named look to the president, principal, and our pastor for leadership, guidance, and direction. They also look to make sure the leaders are going to establish processes that are going to create a vision. And the more these people become involved and engaged in the processes, then the better they feel about it. We do know that people are going to respond very positively when the president or the principal and/or the pastor invites them to belong to a strategic planning process, to serve on a board, to serve on a council, to be part of a think tank, to work with the enrollment management committee, to work with an annual fund cabinet, to be involved in the president's council. Whatever it may be, people respond more positively when they are personally, and the key word there really is personally invited. Number 4, they also respond more positively when the president, principal, and our pastor invites them to financially participate. And once again, the more that can be done personally, the greater the impact. And then finally, the physical presence of an eyeball communication by the president, principal, and our pastor, what makes the most positive difference. Now, the physical presence may or may not be applicable in your situation right now, but even eyeball to eyeball can certainly be done through a Zoom session. That ability to relate this way, we always say that emails and direct mails and websites and letters and social media and all of that, they do wonderful things in announcing, in positioning, in reinforcing. But when it comes to quote unquote, reaching a decision and closing the deal on whatever that may be, it may be a donor invitation, it may be an invitation to be part of a planning process. The success rate is going to be remarkable between that first number of ways and that, once again, personal invitation. So these are 5 basic truths that I think you'll see run throughout. And so when we put together this presentation, one of the things we wanted to do, beside relying upon the basic truths and relying upon our experience over the past 31, almost 32 years doing this, was to make suggestions. Some of the suggestions are going to be very applicable, and some of the suggestions may not be. They may not fit your culture, may not fit your style, may not fit exactly what you're doing in your school. But keep in mind that these are suggestions. Hopefully, there will be some that will be applicable, you can take and you can implement. There are different resources throughout, And we have our contact information in which if you wish to get in touch with us, call us, email us, whatever. So suggestion number one to us is the most important. Create, establish, and sustain a culture of belonging. Those are 3 words, not just put in place a culture of belonging. It's create, establish, and sustain a culture of belonging. What is that? What is a culture of belonging? Well, as we said earlier, belonging leads to believing. Belonging leads to believing. The more you engage people into a partnership, whether it be a faculty member, a parent, an alum, the more effective you're going to be in our estimation. We've seen it happen over and over. Those principals and pastors and presidents that engage people and actually actively create and establish and sustain this culture are the most successful. Suggestion 2, understand that Catholic school development advancement is not just about raising money. That sometimes is not a shock, but a surprise for some. Many people think that a development office, an advancement office is set up just to raise money. Well, we look at it differently. We define development, and have for 31 plus years, as the meaningful involvement of people in your mission and vision for the future. And the key word here is meaningful. Meaningful involvement of people. And so as we look at this, please understand that we're talking about advancing and developing a Catholic school. And the advancement and development is going to be done through resources, people resources, community resources, financial resources, connections, best wisdom, resources. And that's what a development advancement effort does. Notice we have the words development/advancement. To us, they mean the same thing. We develop and we advance. Also, just as important in suggestion 3, to understand the difference between fundraising dollars and development dollars. Fundraising dollars are the candy sale, the raffle, the golf tournament, the gala, the fair and the festival, the sale of mulch for the spring mulch plan that you put in place, where you want people to come and pick up their 10 bags of mulch at the school. That's fundraising dollars. Buy and sell. Buy and sell. I'm going to buy a raffle calendar. You're going to sell it to me, and you're going to make hopefully a good profit. My return is that I may win a chance on winning a couple of bucks. I'm going to buy some Heath candy bars. I'm going to buy the sponsorship of the 18th hole of your golf tournament. Buy, sell. I'm probably not that interested in your mission, vision, core values, and where you're going with your school in the future. I just primarily am going to want my bags of spring mulch. Development dollars is quite different. Development dollars really is investment, philanthropic giving, being a steward. And so we need to understand the difference. Development dollars are things like the annual fund, the capital campaign, memorial giving, endowed giving, planned giving, grant writing, major donor portfolio work. Really important to understand the differences. Understand too that there is an effective organizational structure. Development advancement is a series of processes that should be connected. It should be systemic. And this diagram, which we'll send you a copy of, is one we see working very well, where there is an executive committee, usually of the president, principal, and/or pastor, the people that really help guide the school, maybe board president, council president, an administrator. There is an advancement or development office or officers. The key to it all is making sure the development engine is constantly fueled with people. And there should be a core team of 12 to 15 people that works hand in hand. They work hand in hand with the development office. All of this is in the books. We also see 6 buckets, so to speak, of Catholic school development advancement: constituent records and relations, communications, which includes everything, all the way from the website to social media to a direct mail piece, enrollment management, managing the enrollment from the time a family becomes attracted to the time they graduate, fund development, annual fund, capital campaign, memorial giving, capital giving, like we talked about earlier, alum involvement, and then fund and fundraising events. We believe that every school should have a written strategic plan for development, and they should have a core team that works hand in hand with the development office to implement that. And quite possibly, some sample implementation teams could be an enrollment management team, a communications marketing team, an annual fund team, an alum team, a special event team, like a team that works with the golf tournament.
If we view development and advancement synonymously and realize it
is a series of processes and the dots all connect, and we look at things systemically, it becomes an exciting and dynamic process. So we invite you to do that. We also invite you to macro, not necessarily micro, manage the development advancement efforts. We also believe with that the president, the principal, the pastor should be able to articulate in the written and the spoken word the vision of where the school is going in the future. We're a big, huge fan of the works of Henri Nouwen. And in one of his works, he talks about this area of development. And he says, vision gives us the courage to tell our story when we otherwise might have remained silent.
What is your vision? And that is the value of having that strategic growth plan, that vision statement, that mission statement, which become the common denominators. Being a Catholic school English teacher for 16 to 17 years, that mission vision is the topic sentence to the paragraph, the thesis statement to the essay. Suggestion 7. We believe that presidents and principals and pastors should seek and be open to input. One of our good friends through the years, Father Jim Manning, pastor of St. Mary of the Assumption Parish up in Springboro, Ohio, and former president of Archbishop Alter High School in the Dayton area, always used to say, and still says, you got to pipeline to your people. Got to pipeline to your people. Got to know what they're thinking. And so if you go back to suggestion 1, build that culture of belonging, then suggestion number 7 is a hand in glove fit. And there are many ways to do that, as you know. Seek ways to educate all Catholic school leaders on what development advancement is all about and what their role is. Never before, I believe, in the history of Catholic school education, has it been more important for faculty, staff, boards, councils, parent leaders, alum leaders, student leaders to understand this area of operational vitality, to understand the value of what their role is in enrollment management, what their role is in all these other buckets that fit under this development advancement. We call it open wide the development box and let them see all kinds of things and learn. The education is so important. The education is so important. Recently, as many of you know, NCEA released this data analysis of enrollment during this pandemic. some very interesting results. But as I viewed it and continue to talk about it, it points to one thing. We have got to continue to raise the bar. We've got to continue to drive this forward. And the biggest lesson I believe that is important for us is to know we can't do this alone. We must build a culture of belonging who understands and appreciates the value of our mission and our vision. Number 9, realize that development advancement is a long-term investment. You're not going to open up a development office with a hire development director and say after 1 year, how much money did you raise? No, it doesn't work. It develops, it advances. It takes several years for a development advancement effort to take root. And every time you bring in a new person to head up that office because the other one left or retired, you don't start over, but you do fall back a few steps, giving that person time to settle in and build their roots. So remember, it is a long-term investment. And we really feel that in order to make it work, the leadership, that president, principal, pastor,
You need to schedule weekly check-in meetings with the people or the person in charge. You know, need to be all on the same page, moving all of this forward. A weekly check, 20, 30 minutes. We're not talking about 2 hours. We're talking about, hey, let's make sure. I know many presidents, principals, and pastors that on Monday morning, got a 30-minute meeting. Hey, here's what we're planning to do this week. On Friday, here's what we did this week. Here's what we accomplished. Here's what we didn't accomplish. Here's what we plan to do the next week. Once again, following that compass, huh? Following that compass, right? 11. We feel the person in charge of development, that development director, advancement director, should be part of your leadership team. After all, they're going to be responsible for so much communication. They need to know what is going on. Once again, that becomes a really key piece. How are you going to develop an advance and the person who's in charge of that is not going to be part of the leadership team? Strongly recommended. Number 12, make sure that the development office doesn't just become the catch-all for unrelated projects. Now, that is easy to do. In fact, one development director I talked with several weeks ago and that has taken one of our online courses with University of Dayton this spring semester, I could tell she was a little bit frustrated in the Q&A piece at the end. And I just asked her, I said, hey, Barbara, what's going on? How's things going? And I said, well, I don't get a chance to really do development. So what do you mean? Well, I mean, they've got me every morning spending 2 hours sometimes, running copies for faculty members on our copier in the faculty room and collating copies and putting them in the faculty mailboxes. And
once again, development should not be the catch-all for unrelated projects or tasks. Development should center around those 6 boxes: constituent records, enrollment management, communications, alum involvement, fund development, and then friend and fundraising events. Number 13, we believe that presidents, principals, pastors should continue to learn about this, ongoing in-servicing, coaching, and education. I know there are many opportunities that obviously NCEA provides, wonderful seminars, wonderful webinars. University of Dayton, we're in partnership with them doing a lot
of teaching, coaching. There are many, many opportunities that we encourage you to continue to learn. It's changing every day, week, and month. Believe me, what we're doing now today in development and advancement is not the same we were doing 6 months ago. 14, I think you need to encourage those working in development to do the same, to continue to grow, to continue to look for ways to professionally grow and develop. And I think there should be money in the budget to allow that to happen.
Once again, that constantly improving, that whole philosophy of continual quality improvement. Number 15, we believe presidents, principals, and pastors should have their own local or regional
Or national advisory council or team that meets monthly, quarterly. I even have a national advisory board with 4 high schools. They meet twice a year, and they come from all over the world.
I'm not talking about your board. I'm not talking about your school advisory council. I'm not talking about your alum board. I'm talking about those people you would love to have for you to present some challenges you're facing and pick their brains and get their best wisdom and have them help you move that school forward. And people would love to do this. They don't have time to serve on something, a group or a committee that meets weekly, every month, whatever. But they could have time to serve on a national advisory council. They could serve on a pastor's cabinet. Once again, engage people. Number 16. Obviously, part of growth, part of professional development, but we feel that president, principal, and pastor should learn, understand, and feel comfortable in inviting those gifts. And we encourage the invitation to be for gifts of prayer, gifts of service, and obviously gifts of financial
Participation. Also, in terms of inviting those gifts, don't be shy with number 17. Many times we'll have a principal or pastor or president tell us, oh, we just can't afford that. Oh, we'd love to do that, but we just can't afford it. Well, if it's vital to moving the mission forward and to move the needle, there are creative funding sources. There are people who believe in your school who will underwrite certain things, whether it be processes, whether it be personnel. Money should not be the deterrent to advance and develop your school. Strange statement, isn't it? There are people, alums, parents, and others that can be very creative. You can be very creative in seeking that funding. I think, too, as you close the door and kind of spend a little quiet time by yourself, I think the president and the principal and the pastor need to ask some key questions. Is my leadership style boss or team management? Do I really engage people, or do I pay lip service to it? Do I look at development and only see, give me the money? Or do I see, how do we develop our school? Am I a process thinker or a program thinker? Is our culture proactive, or do we always react? And do I look for the win-win? When I work with a parent, when I work with a student, when I work with a donor, when I work with an alum, when I work with a faculty member, a staff member, a board member, a council member, do I always look for the win-win? How are we going to win? Suggestion 19. We believe you should personally visit, quote unquote, with over 100 new people every year. Now that visit may be a phone call visit, maybe in person, maybe a Zoom session, whatever, but 100 new people. That seems strange, doesn't it? You look at that and you say, absolutely, don't have the time, wouldn't fit into my schedule, not my style. And I go back to that diagram I showed you earlier. People fuel. You got to fuel the development engine. You've got to be able to pick up the phone and ask Barbara and ask Ray, could they meet with you for 15 minutes over the phone so you could share a challenge that you wanted to pick their brain about? You've got to ask Bobby if he can come on into your office and have a cup of coffee so you can ask him how he would suggest you handle this particular situation with possibly a potential donor. Personally visit with over 100 new people every year. That's, do the math, 2 a week. And guess what? You get 2 weeks off. 2 a week. 2 a week. Personally visit. Number 20. I think it's important you be as transparent as possible. And you should share the financial landscape of the school twice a year, August and January. Here's where we are. I also think, in the same vein, you should share enrollment numbers by grade level on a weekly basis. I think they need to be posted in the faculty room. I think when you go meet with parents and you meet with alums and you meet with like one elementary school principal did last week, meeting with the KCs, and he shared the enrollment numbers. Enrollment is everyone's responsibility. Don't hide it, be transparent. Let people know where you are. Let people know that they are responsible just like you. They should spread the news. They should be able to know what those top 10 selling points are. They should be able to share this. They should be able to be involved and engaged. Once again, share the enrollment numbers. There's a wonderful article in NCEA Momentum, and also part of our newsletter that we shared of a principal here in the Archdiocese of New Orleans, Tony Benura, principal of St. Matthew the Apostle Catholic Elementary School, who in his first year, 2 years ago, enrollment increased 15%. People couldn't believe it. I said, Tony, how did you do that? He said, I shared the numbers. I made everybody understand that we were part of this community together. We built that culture of belonging. I let faculty members know every week where we were in every grade
and what it was looking like for the next year. I shared that everywhere I went. And it became not my challenge, but everyone's challenge. Number 22, I think that as a president, principal, pastor, you should have a major donor portfolio system in place. We're teaching a course right now through the University of Dayton on major gifts. And we've said all along, we think there needs to be, with hard copy, a portfolio on every financial leader, meaning you've got some wonderful information that you can certainly touch base with them on, and that you have software with CRM, customer relationship management capabilities. Living in a new world today. And the more you can develop and more realize that financial leaders do want to become involved, but that relationship becomes so important. Number 23, I think you need to measure success just as much by the expansion of the people base as well as how much money did you raise. The more you expand your people base, the better off you're going to be. Think of an annual fund every year that retained 90% of its donors, and every year increased its donor base by 15%. Over 10 years, the results are going to be phenomenal. So both in terms of money as well as in people. The next one will surprise you, but the next one I've been quote unquote preaching for over 15 years. To me, it is the future of our Catholic schools. I believe we need to make sure that the school establishes a personal relationship with every school family. I believe that becomes important. Not invite all parents in for a meeting. I said the school doesn't necessarily mean it's just the principal, but it could be the faculty member and a principal. It could be two faculty members. It could be a board member and a faculty member. It could be a parent leader and a faculty member. What if you had 10, 15 teams of two, go out 2 by 2 and build these personal relationships? It's a whole chapter in one of the books we've written for NCEA. Make sure the school establishes a personal relationship. Talk about address retention. Talk about send wonderful PR in the community. Talk about establishing a personal relationship and having
a visit, a good, meaningful visit with every school family, at least once a year. Well, you talk about what you as a school need to have them understand, but then you flip the coin over and say, what do we need to understand about you, Mr. and Ms. Johnson, and your child, so we can build a partnership with you that will last a lifetime?
Talk about change of culture, huh? Think you should be open and fearless in continually improving the people engagement culture on a daily basis. We will send you the next visual. We call it
our Catholic School Pyramid of Success in advancing and developing your Catholic school.
They're all kind of tiers on the pyramid, but I'd like and I suggest you look at the top tier. When people become engaged, you create critical mass and create that culture of belonging and believing. I believe over the long term, because we've seen it so many times, this is the future of Catholic schools. Those schools that do this will not only survive, they'll prevail. Granted, schools do close. Much of that is demographics. Much of that is extenuating circumstances. But I honestly believe that many of our Catholic schools can prevail in the future, just like our churches, with a strong emphasis on people engagement. We'll send you this pyramid. It's one of the handouts. And this pyramid that you see in front of you is actually one of the most vibrant and dynamic educational tools we as a company use as we consult and coach and teach. So as you look at all this, we will send you that pyramid. We will send you that diagram of the organizational structure.
We will send you also a way to assess your development advancement efforts in a self-assessment test we have. And we'll also send you what we believe is important as a to-do list, especially in 2021. So once again, please, we encourage you to get in touch with us. If you have any questions, if you have not gotten the resources and want us to send them to you, we'll be more than happy to. But these are some basic truths, 5 of them, and these are 25 suggestions. Suggestions that are just that. We're suggesting to you, please consider. At the heart of it all, you'll notice that there are 3 basic principles. Establish a culture of belonging, number 1. Establish an infrastructure where development and advancement can be successful and flourish. And number 3, make sure that you invite people's input so you can build that culture, because the people become the fuel that allow Catholic school development and advancement. It allows that engine to run. Without the people fuel, the engine runs out of quote unquote the gas that makes it go. Great pleasure to share this with you. Always excited to do it. We're looking forward to completing our next book for NCEA. We really believe that the resources that NCEA provides, like this convention, like we're obviously prejudiced about the publications because we think whether it's development or any other area, but those resources, the webinars, the publications, this convention, this is the way we grow as a Catholic community, as we all seek to get better. Remember, my major theme, belonging leads to believing. Let's build those bridges, even though we're walking on them as we build them. Let's build those bridges for tomorrow through people engagement. Thanks again. God bless.